Missiles that carry destruction, ammunition that is incredibly dangerous, but still used. If nuclear weapons come to mind, then you have the right idea. Damage from exposure to hydrogen and atomic bombs is measured in millions of dollars. But no one really goes into details about why this happens. It seems to me that this is a very interesting topic for analysis. Therefore, today I'll tell you what's the secret of the destructiveness of these bombs, and indeed how they work. Some people think that atomic bombs and hydrogen bombs are virtually the same. To some extent, this is true because both types of bombs are categorized as nuclear weapons. But to talk about the differences, first we need to understand the basic concept. Nuclear arms are weapons of mass destruction that use nuclear energy to create an explosion. This energy, in turn, is contained in atomic nuclei and is released during nuclear reactions and radioactive decay. I'm sure that the last two concepts are already familiar to you. I've mentioned similar processes occurring in the nuclei of stars several times before. But today, we move away from the topic of space and discuss what's created by human hands. So, if both types of bombs use nuclear energy, what could be the difference? The main thing is in how they explode. Let's start with an analysis of the atomic bomb. This weapon usually looks like an elongated, rounded torpedo. Nothing special, but the main danger lies inside. To get the so-called nuclear explosion, a certain reaction must occur. The chain reaction of the fission of heavy nuclei. There are several heavy elements that are capable of such a reaction. Usually, uranium-235 is used in nuclear weapons. You might have heard somewhere that not only uranium-235 is radioactive, there's also uranium-238 as well as uranium-234. Different numbers tagged to the end of an element are isotopes. To put it simply, different types of one element. But we won't go into unnecessary details because only uranium-235 can do what we're all here for. To obtain the maximum amount of energy during the explosion of an atomic bomb, the content of 235 isotope in uranium should be at least 80%. Therefore, in the production of nuclear weapons, uranium is enriched further. But if something goes wrong with this process, there is a fallback. You can also create a plutonium bomb, which will be based on the isotope with the number 239. However, this element is rarely found in nature, which means that you'd have to try and create it artificially. Now we know enough about the inside of an atomic bomb. But how do we launch such a weapon? The nuclear explosion occurs because a certain mass of fissile material is concentrated in one place. This can also be called critical mass. When it is reached, a nuclear decay reaction is formed with the release of energy. But for a powerful explosion, one critical mass is not enough. To get a truly destructive bomb, you'll need 4 to 5 critical masses of matter. There are several ways to achieve this, but I'll talk about the main one. It's called implosive. Imagine a nuclear bomb, for example, in the form of a small ball. Inside it are all the necessary components for a nuclear reaction, but the critical mass hasn't been reached. In order to achieve this, we'll create a guided explosion from the outside. Suppose I put an explosive on the outside of the bomb and detonate it. When properly exposed, the space inside the bomb will begin to shrink towards the center of the shock wave. The density of uranium or plutonium inside will increase, and we get a nuclear explosion. What about the hydrogen bomb? In this explosive device, energy is released due to thermonuclear fusion. A very fast explosive reaction takes place inside the charge with the help of elements such as deuterium and tritium. Other heavier elements can also be used along with them. However, the main effective substance is lithium hydride. By itself, it doesn't produce an explosion, so clearly we need something else. The detonation of this substance is usually carried out by an integrated nuclear device with low power. In a simple way, it can be called a detonator. When it's activated, energy is released, which triggers an explosive thermonuclear reaction inside the bomb. Interestingly, for hydrogen bombs, there's theoretical.
Dieses smarte Gerät sichert automatisch deine Fotos und Videos, jedes Mal, wenn du dein Handy auflädst. Es kann bis zu 500.000
Theoretically no limit to the power. If you wish, you could create such a powerful bomb that it would simply wipe all life from the face of the earth. But I hope it never crosses anyone's mind. By the way, more about power. In the case of nuclear weapons, they're measured in TNT equivalent. Why is that so? TNT is an explosive and quite well known. To understand the power of a nuclear explosion, a certain amount of TNT is needed to produce the same energy. Usually it's expressed in kilotons and megatons, and I have some examples of various bombs. To begin with, the famous Tsar Bomba. It's related to thermonuclear, that is, a hydrogen type of weapon. Its power is 58.6 megatons. Simply put, it was such an amount of TNT that would have had to have been detonated in order to compare with this one bomb. As for nuclear weapons, the most famous are Little Boy and Fat Man. The first was dropped on the city of Hiroshima in 1945 and had a capacity of 13 to 18 kilotons of TNT. The second bomb destroyed the city of Nagasaki 3 days after the first. It had a capacity of 21 kilotons. The consequences of strikes with such power are not difficult to predict. First of all, there's chaos and destruction caused by a shockwave and light radiation. But there's also something that cannot be seen with the eyes. It's impossible to feel or hear. I'm talking about radiation. Radiation one of the factors caused as a result of the explosion of nuclear weapons. And if you're near a detonated bomb, I have bad news for you. There are three main types of ionizing radiation. These are alpha, beta, and gamma. And no matter how much we would want it, they would all contaminate the area where a nuclear explosion occurred. Alpha radiation will not do much harm. A person's clothing may well protect them from contact with exposed skin, but it's also worth protecting your mucous membranes. Beta radiation is a little more serious and can cause significant damage at a distance of several tens of meters or feet from the radiation source. Among the consequences could be radiation burns and cataracts. It's unlikely that anything will protect us from the effects of gamma radiation, except for thick layers of certain substances such as lead and concrete. With its high penetrating power, it literally permeates the body, causing damage. The most well-known consequences are radiation sickness, cancer, and gene mutations. At the moment, 9 countries have nuclear weapons, and they're also deployed to foreign installations. But even if someone wanted to, the total power of the entire world nuclear arsenal wouldn't be able to destroy the whole planet. There are about 15,000 nuclear warheads in the world. All of them have different amounts of power, but let's take some approximate values. For example, suppose each of the 15,000 bombs have a capacity of 500 kilotons. Putting them all together, we get a super bomb with a capacity of 7,500 megatons. What would it be capable of? Well, to give an example, it would be an explosion with a force about 13,000 times less than an impact from the asteroid Chicxulub. You already know the consequences of its fall, so reduce them also by about 13,000 times. In any case, nuclear weapons can't be compared with any other weapon. It's not allowed to be used just because somebody wants to. Therefore, we shouldn't fear a nuclear strike in the near future. But it's important to understand how such a weapon works. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you like this video. Click on the bell so you don't miss new releases. And subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest developments from the world of science.
In this video, we will look at how the hydrogen bomb Tsar Bomba works. Tsar Bomba is a second-generation nuclear bomb made by the Soviet Union in 1961. This is a type of nuclear bomb called hydrogen or thermonuclear bomb. It is called a hydrogen bomb because of the deuterium or hydrogen-2 and tritium or hydrogen-3 used in it. This is how huge it is compared to a person. It has a length of 8 meters and a mass of 27,000 kilograms. It is larger and heavier than the Fat Man, which has a mass of 4,670 kilograms only. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any blueprint of the Tsar Bomba, but because it is a hydrogen bomb, most likely its interior looks like this. This is the usual design of a hydrogen bomb. It has a primary stage and a secondary stage. The primary stage can be a pure fission, just like the Pac-Man bomb, or it can also be a boosted fission like this one. A boosted primary stage is made up of different spheres. This is the faster explosive, an explosive commonly used in grenades. This is a slower explosive, uranium-238 tamper, vacuum. This means that it has no content. We only put color in it to make it visible. Plutonium-239 or uranium-235 pit, the fission fuel to make the explosion of the primary stage greater. This pit is hollow at its center, as this is where the hydrogen 2 and hydrogen 3 gas mixture is injected from this reservoir. This serves as a booster of neutrons, hence the term boosted fission. Neutrons are important to make sure that the nuclear chain reaction starts and continues. The primary stage has detonators and are connected to each block, and these detonators are connected to the firing unit. The secondary stage or thermonuclear stage is a cylinder with different layers, like the uranium-238 blast shield or fissure tamper, lithium-6 deuteride tritide as the fusion fuel, and plutonium-239 as the spark plug. These two stages are suspended on a polystyrene foam as its support, and these are encased in a reflective casing or radiation case that traps the fission energy inside. Let's look at the mechanism of the usual hydrogen bomb design so that it's easier for us to understand the stages of the Tsar Bomba. Let's assume that the bomb has already been dropped from the bomber. Because of its heavy weight, a parachute was attached to its tail to delay its detonation to give time for the bomber to get to a safer distance. When the barometric device detects the designated altitude, which is 4,000 meters from the ground, the firing unit is activated, which sends electrical impulses through the wires going to the electrical detonators. Once the electrical impulses reach the detonators, the faster explosives detonate first, creating shock waves. Then the shock waves go to the slower explosive. The shock wave then compresses the uranium-238 tamper, and because there is a vacuum, the uranium-238 will hit the uranium-235 or plutonium-239 pit so fast. Because of this, the uranium-235 or plutonium-239 pit is compressed, and because of the intense heat, the nuclear chain reaction begins. In nuclear physics, nuclear fission and nuclear fusion are needed in order for a bomb to generate a very high yield of explosion. Nuclear fission is the splitting of an atom of a chemical element like uranium-235 or plutonium-239. A neutron is needed in order to split it. In splitting uranium or plutonium, two more the same atoms are generated in addition to three neutrons in energy. These new neutrons will then also bombard other uranium or plutonium atoms, hence the term nuclear fission chain reaction. Such a chain reaction will continue until the accumulated energy explodes violently. When the fission starts, the pit is injected with deuterium-tritium gas mixture from the reservoir. Because of the intense heat from the fission of plutonium or uranium, the deuterium and tritium undergo fusion. But it's just a small fusion. The neutrons generated from this fusion will add to the occurring nuclear fission chain reaction. The detonation of the primary stage will emit intense heat, X-rays, neutrons that will cause so much pressure inside, especially that it is inside this radiation casing that traps the energy inside. The polystyrene foam will get irradiated and turn into plasma, adding more pressure. After that, the pressure will then go to the secondary stage. This pressure will compress the uranium-238 pusher tamper, therefore also compressing and making denser the lithium-6 deuteride and the plutonium-239 spark plug inside. Because of the intense heat and so much pressure, the plutonium-239 undergoes fission chain reaction, therefore generating many neutrons. Then the neutrons generated from the primary stage fission and from the plutonium-239 spark plug fission then go to the lithium-6 deuteride tritide. When lithium-6 deuteride is hit with a neutron, it releases tritium and helium. Then this tritium will fuse with the existing deuterium inside the lithium-6 deuteride. Like what's mentioned earlier, this fusion of deuterium and tritium generates many neutrons, which will add to the neutrons from the primary stage fission. This fusion will continue until the accumulated energy explodes violently. This uranium tamper pusher will also undergo nuclear fission, which will add about 50% to the total explosion yield of Tsar Bomba. The fireball of the Tsar Bomba that was tested went up to 8 kilometers wide. The thermal pulse reached up to 270 kilometers, and the shock wave destroyed up to 700 to 900 kilometers. In comparison, the Fat Man's damage was only 2-kilometer radius. Now, experts have different theories about the design of the Tsar Bomba. One speculation is that it had one primary stage, two smaller secondary stages, and in the middle is a larger tertiary stage. The other speculation is that it had two primary stages and one large secondary stage. And the other speculation is that it had one primary stage, one secondary stage, and one larger tertiary stage. Analysts stated that the Tsar Bomba even had more than one tertiary stages. That is why it generated 50 megatons or 50 million tons of explosive force, while the Fat Man only generated 21 kilotons or 21,000 tons only. In fact, the Tsar Bomba could have reached 100 megatons of explosive force. The reason why it only reached 50 megatons is because they replaced the uranium-238 tamper with the lead because of the too much nuclear fallout of a 100 megaton nuclear detonation. And this is how a hydrogen bomb like Tsar Bomba works. What do you think is the design of the Tsar Bomba?
Erlebe die fantastische Welt von Oreo und ein Minecraft-Film. Genieße, spiele, gewinne.
On March 1st, 1954, the United States detonated the country's first thermonuclear weapon, or fusion bomb. Within 1 second of the explosion, the fireball was almost 5 miles wide and hotter than the sun. Within 1 minute, the mushroom cloud was higher than most commercial planes fly. In under 10 minutes, the result of the explosion would be 100 kilometers wide. The fireball was reportedly seen up to 400 kilometers or 250 miles away. The indescribable flash of the light from the fireball made the bone of nearby men visible through their flesh. The bomb expected yield of about 6 megatons of TNT. However, the actual yield was significantly higher than anticipated, measuring around 15 megatons. This is the story of the deadliest bomb, the Castle Bravo. Let's take a closer look inside this destructive force. The Castle Bravo consisted of two sections. The primary, a fission bomb similar to the one detonated over Hiroshima, and the secondary, a fusion bomb. The primary bomb featured conventional chemical explosives surrounding a beryllium mirror casing, within which a small plutonium sphere was housed. The detonation process involved a 32 bridge wire detonator placed around the conventional explosive. Beneath the primary bomb lay the hydrogen or fusion bomb. The secondary fusion bomb comprised a uranium cylinder. The fuel for the fusion reaction, lithium deuteride, and at the core of the cylinder sits a rod of plutonium. In between the fission and fusion is an encasing made of styrofoam. The device was mounted in a shot cab on an artificial island built on a reef off Namu Island in Bikini Atoll. Here's how it works. First, the 32 bridge wire detonators release an electric spark to detonate the chemical bomb. The chemical bomb detonation causes compression inside the plutonium and releases bursts of neutrons. One atom of plutonium is hit by a neutron, splits into two, and releases energy, producing 2 or 3 additional neutrons. Each of these goes on to react or split other plutonium atoms, thus maintaining a chain reaction that produces a high level of heat, higher than even that at the center of our sun, 100 million degrees Celsius. The center of the sun is 15 million degrees Celsius. This temperature results in an atomic explosion. The fission explosion creates high-energy gamma rays and X-rays, which heat up the styrofoam and turns it into plasma. The heat and pressure of the plasma compress the fusion cylinder, causing the lithium deuteride to react and form helium and more neutrons.
Fat Man atomic weapon over Nagasaki. The outer charge explodes inward, followed by the inner ring of explosives, creating a concave shockwave. It moves to the aluminium pusher, breaking the barren plastic sphere. The shockwaves continue toward the uranium-238. It travels further, compressing the plutonium sphere and compressing it more. Interestingly, this was James' Tuck idea, a British physicist who suggested employing shaped charges as three-dimensional explosive lenses. But it was further developed and perfected by von Neumann, a Hungarian-American mathematician, physicist, and computer scientist. So stay tuned as we move to explore the step-by-step process of how this Fat Man atomic weapon works, all in the videos ahead, so don't miss a beat. Starting from the back, this is the California parachute tail. It was meant to stabilize the weapon when dropped. Next, we have the Barrow tube collector, which helps measure the altitude of the bomb. This section contains the Barrow switches, radar, and timers. Moving further ahead, these are some of the 32 detonator wires connected to this X unit, a firing set placed near the charge. These are the 24-volt batteries required to detonate the charge surrounding the nuclear components. Moving to the exterior of the weapon are these 3 arming plugs removed before dropping from the B-29 plane. These are the 4 Archie radar antenna that activates when the bomb reaches a suitable height. Finally, at the front, we find the 4 A-N destruct fuse. This device was made to self-destruct the weapon, so as not to fall into the hands of the enemy when each of the firing mechanisms fails to activate. Let's dive into the interior of this weapon. The core of the assembly is the internal neutron initiator. This is responsible for emitting neutrons essential for the chain reaction. It contains a beryllium pellet and a beryllium shell with inward pointing spikes. And between them is polonium, a radioactive substance emitting alpha particles. The entire neutron generator assembly is 2 centimeters in diameter. Surrounding the neutron generator is the main fusion material, around 6 kilogram plutonium sphere measuring around 9 centimeters in diameter. Enclosed within this sphere is another concentric sphere made of uranium-238, acting as a neutron reflector to increase fission efficiency and contribute to the fission reaction. On the uranium sphere lies a thin layer of plastic shell made of acrylic thermoplastic enriched with boron. Its purpose is to absorb slow-moving neutrons and prevent pre-detonation. The critical components for the fission reaction are enclosed in a thick layer of aluminum, known as an aluminum pusher, which uniformly transfers shock waves from the explosives to the uranium. The pusher sphere of aluminum is surrounded by 32 blocks of faster explosives, a combination of 61% RDX and 39% TNT. An additional layer of 32 explosive blocks lies outside, forming an explosive lens to shape the detonation wave. Each explosive block contains a detonator for initiation. This assembly is referred to as the physics package, encased in a thick steel case to contain the explosion of fast and slow explosives. Simultaneous detonation of all explosive blocks is crucial for a symmetric explosion. Lastly, the X unit, an electronic component with capacitors, produces high current, high voltage, and distributes it simultaneously to all 32 detonators via wires with thick insulation. Let's look at the basic step-by-step process. Step number 1. Boeing B-29 Super Fortress acts as the primary transport. Step number 2. Before opening the bomb bay doors, all 3 arming plugs are pulled one after the other. Step number 3. The doors open and the bomb falls due to gravity. Then it switches to its internal 24-volt battery and starts the timer. Step number 4. After 15 seconds, the barometer senses the desired height. The membrane closes circuit, activating the multiple radar altimeters located at the front of the bombs. The barometric stage was added because of a worry that external radar signals might detonate the weapon too early. Step number 5. To ensure accurate detection of the final altitude, multiple radar altimeters were utilized. This process involves measuring the altitude above the ground beneath the aircraft or the fat man through the timing of radio waves travel, reflection, and return. Step number 6. Once the correct height was sensed, the X-firing switch activates and sends signals through the 32 wires to set bridge charge detonators. Step number 7. The outer faster charge explodes inwards, followed by the inner ring of explosives, creating a concave shockwave. Step number 8. It then travels to the aluminum pusher, breaking the barren plastic sphere. Step number 9. The shock waves further travel towards the uranium-238. Step number 10. This makes the plutonium sphere denser, compressing it further in the process. Step number 11. This is the final part of the process, where the extreme forces crush the beryllium shell and the polonium, releasing neutrons required for fission reaction. Let's dive a little bit deeper. The neutron strikes the nucleus and is absorbed. The absorbed neutron causes the nucleus to undergo deformation. The nucleus fission releases an average of 2 or 3 neutrons, thus creating a chain reaction, or in some words, an explosion. We make original 4K 3D animation from scratch, with 2 animators working on it full time. So please support us by subscribing and dropping in a comment for more exclusive engineering animations.
Dieser ergonomische Bürostuhl von Ofinto erspart dir den verspannten Nacken nach dem Arbeiten und kostet nur 299.
On August 6, 1945, this American B-29 bomber, 4-propeller plane named the Enola Gay, left the island of Tinian for Hiroshima, Japan, carrying the uranium-235 gun-type bomb named Little Boy. Little Boy was one of the first nuclear weapons tested on mankind. While the dangers and the engineering behind it were even regretted by the scientist Oppenheimer, Julius
electromagnetic pulse.
Oh, God have mercy.
L'image est inédite. Elle a été tournée sans autorisation par un appelé du contingent. Comme lui, des milliers
9、8、7、6、5、4、3、2、1，起爆！
1967年6月17日上午8时20分，我国第一颗氢弹爆炸成功了。火球的左侧亮点是太阳。
从第一颗原子弹爆炸到氢弹爆炸，美国用了7年零3个月，苏联用了4年，英国用了4年零7个月，我国只用了2年多时间，以最快的速度完成了从原子弹到氢弹这2个发展阶段的跨越。
现在人们已经知道，美国1952年爆炸的是一个65吨重、3层楼房高的氢弹装置， 苏联1953年爆炸的第一颗氢弹能用飞机空投，但爆炸威力只有40万吨。而我国这次试验成功的实现了体积较小、重量较轻、聚变比较高的100万吨级氢弹的预期目标。这再一次证明，外国人能办到的事，中国人也一定能够办到，而且能够办得更好。
望着天空那朵巨大的蘑菇云，聂荣臻元帅欣慰地自言自语地说：“300万吨，够了，够了。”
Sie brauchen keine Kristallkugel, um Projekte zu planen. Matrix 24 macht es für Sie.
不同国家的氢弹爆炸，法国。英国。美国。前苏联。中国。
走，8、滚，6、5、4、3、2、1，起跑！
1945年7月16日、アメリカ・ニューメキシコ州、現地時間午前5時29分、新たな時代が産声を上げました。そこで生まれたのは、世界初の核爆発、TNT 換算でおよそ2万5000トンを誇るその核爆発は、文字通り一瞬で時代を変えたと思います。人類は核を手に入れたことにより、敵国はもちろんのこと、地球上の文明を完全に破壊することも不可能ではなくなりました。そのような兵器の存在こそが、第二次世界大戦以降の世界情勢を決定づけたと言っても過言ではなく、新たな時代という表現は決して間違いではないでしょう。その新時代への号砲は、キリスト教で三位一体を意味するトリニティ実験と呼ばれています。世界初の核爆発の裏には、どのような思惑が渦巻いていたのでしょうか。そして、トリニティ実験の成功から、現代を生きる人類は何を学ぶことができるのでしょうか。今回は史上初の核実験、トリニティ実験についてご紹介したいと思います。
Mit Asana haben Sie alle Aufgaben im Griff. Jetzt kostenlos testen.
トリニティ実験を語る上で欠かせないのは、天才物理学者のアルベルト・アインシュタイン。アインシュタインにより一躍有名となった E=mc2 乗という式は、質量とエネルギーは等価であり、ごくわずかな質量でも莫大なエネルギーを得ることができるということを示しています。19世紀にはすでに放射能が発見されていたため、原子核には大量のエネルギーが貯蔵されていることに気づいた科学者も多かったようです。しかし、1930年代までは人類は原子核を利用してエネルギーを得ることはできず、アインシュタインも1935年頃に原子核からエネルギーを得ることに対して懐疑的な見方を示しています。潮目が変わったのは1938年。その年、ウラン原子の核分裂が発見されたのです。自然界に存在するウランのほとんどは、原子核の陽子と中性子の数の合計が238個であるウラン238ですが、およそ 0.7% は合計が235個のウラン235です。そのウラン235に中性子を当てると、ウラン235の原子核が分裂し、エネルギーを生み出します。他の原子であれば、そこで反応は止まることが多いのに対し、ウラン235の場合は、一つの原子核が分裂するごとに3つ中性子を放出します。そして放出された中性子が他のウラン235の原子核に衝突し、さらなる核分裂を誘発することができます。一つの原子核が核分裂することにより、連鎖的に多数の原子核が核分裂を行うため、莫大なエネルギーを取り出すことができるのです。ここで重要になるのが、原子核分裂を発見したのはドイツだということ。1938年のドイツといえば、すでにヒトラーが全権を掌握し、隣国のチェコスロバキアへの侵略的な軍事行動など、危うい道をたどっていました。翌年1939年には、ポーランドに侵攻することでヨーロッパ中を戦争に巻き込んだ中、ユダヤ人に対し想像を絶する迫害を加えました。
もしヒトラー率いるナチスドイツが核分裂の力を手にしていたら、第二次世界大戦の被害者は史実より桁違いに多くなったであろうということは容易に想像ができるでしょう。当初アメリカはヨーロッパの戦争に直接関与はしませんでした。しかし、ナチスを逃れアメリカに亡命していた物理学者のレオ・シアードは、ナチスドイツが核分裂を利用して核爆弾を開発することを危惧し、アメリカのルーズベルト大統領に向けて手紙を作成します。内容は、アメリカも核爆弾を開発すべきという。当時世界で最も著名な科学者と言っても過言ではない、アルベルト・アインシュタインの署名を添えて、この手紙が実際どれほどその後の展開に影響したかは議論の余地がありますが、これがきっかけでアメリカの核爆弾の開発、マンハッタン計画が始まりました。しかし、当初の開発はなかなか進まなかったようです。問題は主に2つ、燃料と爆発方法にありました。燃料については、先ほど紹介した通り、使える原子の種類は限られています。ウラン235はすでに知られていましたが、自然界で得られるウランのうち、ウラン235の割合はわずか 0.7%。ウラン238とウラン235の化学的性質はほぼ同じなため、核爆弾として利用できるほどウラン235の割合を増やすためには、わずかな質量の差を利用するしかありません。当然そのための手法を一から構築する必要があります。さらに、ウランを含む鉱石からウランを単体で抽出する方法も当時は未確立であり、完全に確立されるのは1943年まで待たねばなりませんでした。しかし、科学者たちは他の燃料に可能性を見出します。それが自然界に存在しない人工の原子であるプルトニウム。ウラン238に中性子が当たると、分裂はしないものの、プルトニウムに変化することがあります。そのプルトニウムも核分裂を起こし、なおかつウラン235よりは多くの量を用意できることが期待されていました。一方、プルトニウムは爆発方法に問題がありました。ウラン235やプルトニウムは外部から中性子を当てなくてもゆっくりと核分裂していきます。実態としてはもう少し複雑ではありますが、結局のところある一定以上の量の燃料を一箇所に集めれば、それだけで核分裂反応は進行し、核爆弾ができるということです。そのため、当初は燃料を2つに分け、火薬を使い、一方をもう一方の塊に向かって高速で打ち出すことで核爆発を起こすガンバレル型と呼ばれる方式を前提に計画が進んでいました。しかし、1944年の夏になってようやくプルトニウムでガンバレル型は不可能だということが分かったのです。なぜなら、プルトニウムが作られる過程で混ぜる不純物の影響で、プルトニウムを使用したガンバレル型の核爆弾は不完全な状態で爆発が発生し、ほとんどエネルギーを得ることができないためです。そのため、プルトニウムを使用した核爆弾は爆縮型という技術的難易度が非常に高い方法に舵を取らざるを得ませんでした。爆縮型では、プルトニウムの弾の周囲で極めて高い精度で爆薬を爆発させる必要があります。そのため、ウランを使用したガンバレル型は実験せずに本番で使用し、プルトニウムを使用した爆縮型は先に実験を行うことが決まりました。そして、運命の日は1945年7月16日、当時のアメリカ、トルーマン大統領の希望で、戦後の処理を決めるポツダム会談の前に実験できるように設定されました。政治的な理由で決定されたトリニティ実験の日程ですが、当然ながら現場は万全な準備とは決して言えないような状況でした。7月16日とは、爆弾の部品が間に合うギリギリの日程。さらに、数ヶ月前に実施されたリハーサルでは、肝心の爆縮のタイミングが合わず、不安が残る結果となってしまいました。本番のために爆弾を吊るして引き上げている際にも、留め具の一部が外れ、爆弾が左右に揺れ始めたという一幕もあったようです。周囲の技術者は、核爆弾が暴発するという最悪の事態が頭に置いています。そして実験当日も、決して順風満帆とは言えなかったようです。本来試験は午前4時に行われる予定でしたが、嵐の影響で1時間以上延期されました。まさに暗雲が立ち込める中、現場の科学者たちの間でも、核爆弾に対する期待は様々でした。爆発など起こらないと予想した科学者もいたのに対し、空気の核融合反応が発生し、地球全体を燃やし尽くすと考えた科学者も少数ながらいたようです。暗いムードを打ち払うためか、結果についてちょっとした賭けも行われていました。ようやく天候がわずかに回復し、試験は午前5時29分に再設定されました。その時に、国家の一大プロジェクトの成否、そして世界の未来が決定づけられるということです。全員が固唾を飲んで見守りました。運命が決まるその瞬間、爆弾の外周部にある爆薬が一斉に作動。発生した衝撃波により、原子爆の中心部にある直径8センチメートル、重量6キログラムほどの小さなプルトニウムの玉が収縮を始めました。衝撃波の到達するタイミングも完璧。プルトニウムの密度が急激に高くなるにつれて、プルトニウムの核分裂反応が爆発的に進行します。核分裂により発生した外向きの圧力は、爆薬の内向きの圧力を超え、装置全体が大爆発。周囲に強烈な熱、衝撃波、そして放射線を放出し始めました。わずか1万分の1秒にも満たないような短い時間で巨大な爆発が発生するのです。この爆発は今までの人類が起こしてきたそれとは比べ物にならないほど強力なものでした。爆発のエネルギーは TNT 換算で2万5000トンで、明け方であったのにもかかわらず、まるで昼のように明るくなったと証言した人がいます。9000メートル以上離れた科学者たちも、まばゆい光に一時的に目が見えなくなったとともに、その衝撃波と熱線は肌で感じられたそうです。爆縮は計算通りに作動し、新たな時代が幕を開けた瞬間でした。見学していたある科学者が後年語ったところによると、実験がうまくいって笑っている者もいた。恐ろしさで泣いている者もいた。しかしほとんどは牛黙っており、世界が変わってしまったという事実を受け止めていたとのこと。プロジェクトの指導者であるロバート・オッペンハイマー氏は、古代インドの聖典の次の一文を思い出していたそうです。我は死神なり、世界の破壊者なり。それからわずか1ヶ月後、ウランを使用した核爆弾が広島に、プルトニウムを使用した核爆弾が長崎に落とされ、合計数十万人の命が奪われました。 そして戦後間もなくして冷戦が始まり、世界は新たに生まれた核兵器と、それがもたらす圧倒的な破壊力を中心に回っていくようになります。トリニティ実験をはじめとする核兵器の開発及び使用は正しかったのでしょうか。それは戦勝国側のアメリカでさえ、未だに答えが出ていない問題です。核兵器の開発は数十万人の命を一瞬で奪い、生き残った者に対しても地獄のような苦しみを与えた悪魔の所業とみなすことなのです。一方、放射性物質を利用した病気の診断やコンピュータの技術、原子力発電など核爆弾の開発は間接的に人類の暮らしを豊かにしてきたという見方もあります。おそらくどちらの見方もある意味では正しいでしょう。技術や自然の法則そのものに善悪など存在しません。結局のところ大切なのは人間がそれらをどのように活用するかです。技術と人間の付き合い方がより一層議論されるべき世の中となった今の社会。およそ80年前の新時代の幕開けから人類は何を学ぶことができるのでしょうか。今回のバイエンスはここまで。またお会いしましょう。
Ehi, Zecchi, come stai?
Bene, e tu Pietro?
Dai, come stai?
Ja, Pietro, bene.
Nein, come stai?
Zauberschum, sag come stai?
Versicherung ohne Blabla.
Smile.
Hiroshima. Бомба пошла. Бомба взорвалась примерно через 45 секунд после того, как был сброшен самолет. И я думаю, что на борту не было ни одного человека, который не отсчитывал бы это время по часам или не прикидывал бы в уме. Лично я не сомневался, что эта бомба была бесполезна. Я уверен, что она не разорвется. После 43-секундного падения временной и баллистические пусковые механизмы активировали взрыватель. Урановый заряд был запущен в корпусе урановой мишки. Вместе они начали цепную ядерную реакцию. Произошел распад массы, высвобождающий немыслимое количество энергии.
Hallo, ich bin's, der XXX Küchenplaner. Zwei Dinge, die wir brauchen, um deine Traumküche zu gestalten. Deinen Grundriss und gute Laune. Buch jetzt einen Planungstermin in der Filiale oder bei dir auf der Couch.
Thank Работала над заданной задачей.
Subscribe to take a trip back in time.
The Mark III, more familiarly known as the Fat Man, was our first implosion-type atomic weapon. An improvement of the Mark III, the Mark IV, developed after World War II. The Mark V had a built-in mechanism to perform the insertion of the capsule and the cord high explosive. The need for a tactical weapon led to the development of the Mark VII. The Mark XII weapon, also designed to be carried externally, is even lighter and smaller than the Mark VII. The Mark IX artillery-fired atomic projectile is for use in the Army's 280mm gun.
Thank you so much.
Robert Oppenheimer was born on April 22nd, 1904. He worked on the Manhattan Project and was often coined as the father of the atomic bomb. But the interesting part was later in his life, he fought to eliminate the production and development of nuclear weapons and died at the age of 62 in 1967. This is how the uranium projectile is launched at 300 meters per second to initiate the 4 polonium for an X-ray explosion placed on the tungsten carbide. We will also be looking at the nuclear fission of the neutrons explained in super simplified animations, and not to forget the different blast radius zones of this first atomic bomb. So stay tuned and don't miss a beat. As we all know, the Manhattan Project produced 2 different types of atomic nuclear weapons, codenamed Fat Man and Little Boy. This is the Fat Man atomic bomb, is a large, heavy plutonium coated using shaped charges as shown in the animation. While the Little Boy has a less heavy uranium weapon, is triggered in a shotgun or gun type design. The Little Boy has a length of 10 feet or 3 meters with a diameter of 28 inches, 71 centimeters. inches or 1.5 meters. Comparing this to a person will help you understand its size. Even better, let's compare this to this classic American SUV. As you see, both of the nuclear weapons look small, considering the amount of destructive power packed into it. This nuclear weapon weighs around 4,898 kilograms or 10,800 pounds. While the little boy, as the name suggests, weighs just shy of 4,400 kilograms or 9,700 pounds. Before we dive into how this works, we have to understand the parts of the nuclear weapon. Starting from the back, these are the box tail fins meant to stabilize the bomb. A drop from this B-29 Superforce bomber. These are the three electric gun primers. The primer is the device responsible for initiating propellant combustion located here, also known as the cordate or conventional charge, that will push this projectile at an explosive force. Moving ahead, this is the projectile tungsten carbide disc. And the most important part is the uranium-235 hollow projectile rings. It weighs around 84 pounds or 38.4 kilograms. While the front is the uranium target rings that weigh around 56.2 pounds or 25.6 kilograms. That is around 145.5 pounds or 65.5 kilograms of uranium. Closely note, as it is very important to understand the projectile ring slugs are hollowed and designed for the target rings to enter. All these mechanisms and parts are encased in a 6.5-inch or 170mm smoothbore gun barrel. Moving to the front, this is the impact-absorbing anvil. Just above it is the tungsten carbide plug. These are the 4 polonium initiators placed on the tungsten carbide. They are kept to make sure there will be a nuclear chain reaction when it is dropped and activated. Moving to the top of the structure are the arming and fusing equipment. Let's move outside this atomic bomb to understand it better. These are the barometric sensing ports and manifolds. The barometer helps to identify by the altitude at which the bomb is located so that it can activate this Archie fusing radar altimeter, which is these curvy-looking objects that activates before reaching the ground. Just above it is the electric plug, and some refer to this as the arming wires. All that destructive power requires a platform to transport this nuclear weapon. The answer is this B-29 Superfortress. It was also the world's heaviest production plane because it increases in range, bomb load, and defensive requirements. Boeing built a total of 2,766 B-29s Superfortress planes, and it was the most advanced four-propeller-driven bomber of the Second World War. It has a length of 99 feet or 30.1 meters, with a huge span of around 141 feet, 3 inches or 43 meters. Interestingly, the plane has a gross weight of around 140,000 pounds or 63,502 kilograms, and could carry a 20,000-pound bomb. The bomb bay door is located just below the fuselage, and it can open them as shown in the animations. As stated, this is one of the most fortified planes in that era. It can carry around 12 .50 caliber machine guns and remote control turrets as shown in the animation. 2 below the plane, 4 above the fuselage, 2 remote control turret, 1 above and below near the tail. And the last 2 are located at the back of the plane. And that is 1 protected gunship. Now that we've established the B-29 Superfortress as a primary transport, let's take a look at how this nuclear bomb works in basic step-by-step format. Step number 1. Before opening the bomb bay doors, all 3 arming plugs are pulled one after the other by the weaponeer William Sterling Deke Parsons. Step number 2. The doors open and the bomb falls due to gravity. Then it switches to its internal 24-volt battery and starts the timer. After 15 seconds, the bomb would be approximately 3,600 feet or 1,100 meters away from the aircraft. Step number 3. The barometer senses the desired height of around 580 meters or 1,900 feet. As the little boy was designed to be an airburst above the ground. The membrane closes circuit activating the multiple radar altimeters located at the front of the bomb. The barometric stage was added added because of the worry that external radar signals might detonate the weapon too early. Step number 4. To ensure accurate detection of final altitude, multiple radar altimeters were utilized. This process involves measuring the altitude above the ground beneath the aircraft or a little below through the timing of radio waves travel, reflection, and return. Once the correct height is sensed, the firing switch activates. Step number 5. This ignites the 3 Navy gun primers in the breech plug. Step number 6. This sets off the charge consisting of 4 silk powder bags, each containing 2 pounds or 0.9 kilograms of cordite. Step number 7. The uranium projectile will be launched at 300 meters per second toward the opposite end of the gun barrel. Step number 8. 4 polonium initiators placed on the tungsten carbide initiate the nuclear reactions. Step number 9. This is where nuclear fission happens. The nuclei and heavy atoms split into smaller, lighter nuclei, releasing excess energy in the process. Let's dive a little bit deeper. The neutron strikes the nucleus and is absorbed. The absorbed neutron causes the nucleus to undergo deformation. The nucleus fission releases an average of 2 to 3 neutrons, thus creating a chain reaction, or in some words, an explosion. The blast radius can be divided into several zones. The central blast zone has a diameter of 0.36 square kilometers, which is the extent of the fireball radius. This is the epicenter and experienced almost total destruction. Severe blast damage zone extends to around 4.5 square kilometers. This has severe damage to buildings, high casualties, and widespread destruction and radiations. Moderate blast zone is about 8.7 square kilometers. Damage to buildings and radiation burn is still significant but less severe. Light damage zone is beyond the blast radius. At 11 square kilometers, there's fires, radiation exposure, and psychological trauma affected survivors among the thousands. Let's simplify this through these animations. Once the correct height is sensed, the firing switch activates. The 3 Navy gun primers ignite the charge consisting of 4 silk powder bags, each containing 2 pounds or 0.9 kilograms of cordite. The uranium projectile is launched at 300 meters per second. At this point, 4 polonium initiators placed on the tungsten carbide initiate nuclear milliseconds, there will be an explosion damaging buildings and killing people by the thousands. We make original 4K 3D animation with 2 animators working on it full time. So please support us by subscribing and dropping in a comment, helping us to produce more exclusive engineering animations made with care, just for our valuable audience. In this video, we will look at how Batman, the second atomic bomb that was dropped in Nagasaki, Japan, works. Batman is an implosion-type nuclear bomb. This is also a nuclear bomb like the Little Boys, but has a different style of detonating. This is how huge it is compared to a person. It has a mass of 4,670 kilograms and a length of 3.3 meters. Let's look at its major parts first before we see its mechanism. AN-129 fuses, RT radar antenna, plate with batteries, X5 fire set with lights with detonators, plate with instruments like radars, barrel switches and timers, barrel tube selectors, 32 pieces of explosive bridge wire detonators, green safety and red warning flags, including spear which has several spears inside, like passive explosive, which is made up of 32 blocks arranged carefully to form a spear. This contains composition explosives commonly found in grenades and M107 projectiles. Slow explosives, then another faster explosive, aluminum fusers, uranium tamper, plutonium kits with plutonium-239, chemical elements capable of sustaining nuclear chain reactions, just like the uranium-235 in Little Boys. Neutron-initiated tail searching with uranium and beryllium inside. This releases the neutrons, which are very